I'm going to make a really quick video here, a few videos here today. This one is about, have you ever thought about how far you have come away from your childhood? Now, this is a very profound subject, and if you've never heard of this before, you really have to you're going to have to do some thinking is required. You're going to have to think about this for a few hours or a few days. You're going to have to keep it in your mind and think, what does this mean for you? So let's start with your childhood. Now, what I'm talking about is simplicity. Now, I understand your parents, paid for your housing, your clothing, your food, going to school, getting on the bus, giving you rides. I get all that. And I understand that you need those things today also, and you're the one that has to work and pay for them. I understand that. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about how simple you were as a child. Have you ever thought about how simple you were as a young boy or a young girl? Think about this. So when you were like 10 or 12 years old, you probably had your favorite toy or a doll or a BB gun or a slingshot or a pocket knife if you grew up on a farm like me, or something like that. You had what was you had your room, or, half the room you shared with a brother or sister. And you went outside and you just you were so happy. You would just walk around. Even the grass on the ground was, because you've only been on this earth 10 or 12 years at this point. Even the grass fascinated you. Let me give that example. I'm going to jump from childhood to adulthood. So when you were like a young child, you used to love to take your shoes off and walk in the grass in the summer and look for bugs and worms and snakes, and make up games and do stuff that was authentically fun. Now today, fast forward 30, 40 years later, you hate grass. You bought a lawnmower. You got to mow the lawn. You got to buy weed killer. You got to get rid of the moles in your yard. I mean, your yard is something that is like the most annoying, stressful thing to you. So think about this. This is a very profound subject. And I'm going to keep this video relatively short because this is an endless subject. I'm going to give you a couple examples and then let you think about it. Think about how far you've come, when you were a little kid with simplicity, walking on the grass. And now you're an adult and grass makes you angry. If you could measure, if God gave you some measuring stick to measure the distance between the simplicity of loving the grass when you were young to now you're 40, 50 years old and you literally hate the grass, you have to mow it and kill it. I mean, think about that. Something you used to once love, now you want to kill. You want to kill the grass, so you don't have to do all this work. Okay, so let's talk about money. Like when you were a little kid, if someone gave you $10, man, that would last a long time. You might even be able to save money out of that for quite a while. You knew exactly what you were going to buy. You could count every penny of that $10 and where it went. And now, 20, 30, 40 years later, you might go to the store and the cashier accidentally gives you back a 10 instead of a 20. And there you go. You lost $10. And I'm telling you, I've seen it because I was a cashier. People don't even notice. They're like, did I just lose $10? I had or some people pay with $100, and well, I used to always count out the change like you're supposed to. But some cashiers just like especially young cashiers, they're like, here's your $80 back, and they don't even count the money. They just put it in their purse, their wallet, or their pocket and walk away. I mean, think about. Now, that's why I brought up, I understand your parents took care of all your bills when you were young. And now a lot of you, are living in 3,000 square foot houses. You have to work 75 hours a week. You got to worry about your 401k, the stock market, your personal savings, your credit cards. I mean, I'm telling you, today you literally hate money. Money is a thing of debt and regret and stress. It's like the more money you get, the more money you get, the worse you get, the worse you get. So what do you do here? I mean, these are two really good examples of when you were young and now when you're older. What do you do? Well, you have to take steps to reverse it. You have to go backwards. First of all, you have to understand how happy you were just to be in your own room. You probably just took a bath or a shower, put on your clothes. You didn't care what they looked like. You just went outside and had fun. You had to go to school. You loved fishing. You loved shooting a BB gun. You loved just having a really cool knife. You loved, if you found a piece of rope, you just loved it. Or you just loved your cat, running around the farm, or some ducks. You just loved everything. Like just even going across town to a 12-year-old was this epic adventure. Just even getting on your bike and going 2 miles down the road all by yourself was like this entire day-long adventure. And you just loved everything about life as a kid, you see. So what you should do is try to sit down with yourself and think, what were, this is the answer to your questions. What were all the things I loved as a child? When I was little, what did I really, truly love most about being a child? And you compare those to the same areas, each in their own same area today, and I guarantee, that it's gotten so far out of control, you probably hate it. You hate it because money is attached to it. And you're only doing it because you have to make that money. You see, like, I'm going to end the video with this one example. Because I live on the Oregon coast, and I see a lot of salmon fishermen, crab fishermen coming out here, a lot of tuna fishermen. I see them, halibut fishermen out in the sea. I see them every year. They're here by the thousands. When they were a child, these guys, if they had a $10 Zebco fishing rod and a can of worms, they could sit on a bank all day long and fish, or some little pond with a bobber. Man, they were so happy, 10, 12, 14 years old, even 16 years old. They just loved fishing, just the simplicity of it. And the funny thing is, they probably caught just almost the exact same amount of fish. So now they're 40, 45, 50, 60 years old. I see them coming out here. They literally got $60,000 boats being pulled by $40,000 diesel trucks. They got a pair of $99 sunglasses on so the glare doesn't hit them. They got like $1,800 in fishing rods and special gear and lures. And one lure now costs like $30, 3 times as much as their fishing rod did when they were a little kid. Do you see what I'm getting at? They took, you see, you took the things you loved as a child and you destroyed them as an adult, is what I'm saying. They took the love of fishing as a kid. It wasn't even about the fishing. I mean, it's fun to catch a fish, but that's not what it was about as a child. It was about an entire day-long adventure. And they took it, and as an adult, they turned it into a $120,000 debt. Because if you think of all the equipment and the boats and the trailer and the tires and the gas and the truck and all your buddies and all the beer and all the food. You now have gone into debt $100,000 so you can catch the same fish, the exact same fish in the water that you used to catch as a child. Man, it's so wow. I see this so often. Or like when you had your first car, probably $1,000 car. Man, you were so happy. You were so happy just to have that car. Now you can't live without a payment. You got to go to a car lot. You have to get some kind of a vehicle, and you have to make a monthly payment, or you're not satisfied in life. You know, when we were kids, you know, our mother, you know, time for dinner, time for dinner. We're like, oh, I don't want to come in. I don't want to eat. Now you're not satisfied unless you're sitting in a steakhouse with a steak dinner, some shrimp, a salad, some rolls. We've taken the things as a child that we loved, and we've stressed them out as an adult, added, you know, 100 times more money to them, and you think about it. And the funny thing is, as a kid, you'd go fishing almost every day all summer for free. As an adult, you do all that stuff, and you're lucky if you get to go fishing 10 times a year. Everything was so simple as a child. And the way I see it is about 90% of all adults I see are very confused and confusing. And, you know, you got to have a 2 or 3 car garage to put that truck in, your boat in. Now you got to wax the boat. You got to wax the truck. You got to change the oil. You got to get the gas. I mean, I'm telling you, I see people, like, for example, let's take a little girl. She used to like a dollhouse when she was a little. Now she has to live in a 4,000 square foot mansion, and she has to work 60, 70 hours a week just to make the mortgage payments because she used to like dollhouses. Just ask yourself, what would I do if I could start over? If I could just sell everything I have? What were the top 5 things, or 6 or 7 things at the most, that I truly loved as a child? I truly, truly loved as a child that I used to do for free. I just truly loved it. You see, the child you, the 12-year-old, said, when I get older, I'm just going to have a simple cabin, you know, that cost you about $25,000. You would have had it paid off long ago. You would have had an old pickup truck with a dog for like $3,000. You'd have paid cash for that. You'd be 45, 50 years old just sitting on a bank fishing somewhere. Or you just have an old rowboat, or just a $2,000 boat with a small motor. You see, that's what the child you was dreaming about. That's the child wanted the simple things, the very, very simple things of life. And as an adult, most adults I see have taken complete money, confusion, stress, health care, 401ks, you know, big $45,000 diesel trucks. Okay, I'll finish with this. Yesterday I saw a girl about 27 years old, and we've all seen them, and it's so sad. She's 27 years old, and she doesn't have a lot of money. She just has a lot of debt. So her and her husband, she's 27 years old, and her husband probably talked her into this because they probably got a 5-acre ranch somewhere. She was sitting in a pickup. I mean, she literally looked like a little doll sitting in this pickup. This was one of those like $59,000 brand new diesel trucks that sit, you know, they're really high up and you got to climb up into them. Like, what is a 27-year-old girl that's probably only been married for 4 or 5 years? What is a 27-year-old girl sitting in a $60,000 truck for to go to the store and get a Starbucks coffee? That's what she did. You're 27 years old and you have already signed an auto loan for $60,000. Now, her husband probably makes he's probably a contractor. He probably makes 50,000 a year, and she probably makes 20 or 30,000 a year. Or she's a nurse, makes 50,000 a year, and he makes 30, 40,000 a year. And they don't go by how much the debt is. They think, well, the payment's only $499 a month, and we can easily afford that because we bring home $4,500 a month. And I'm like, I just was sitting there thinking to myself, how far, when these kids were 12 years old, how far away they have come. Even when they just first met each other at, say, 18, 19, 20 years old, they probably never dreamed of taking out a $60,000 loan. And as soon as you drive that $60,000 truck off the lot, it's worth about $45,000, and after 2 years, it's worth about $39,000. And I'm like, how far? That's the question. That's what prompted me to make this video. I'm watching all the adults, I'm watching everyone around me, and how far all these adults have come from the simplicity of their childhood and what their true dreams were, what their true authentic dreams were back then. Not what they've turned it into today, but what they used to truly actually want when they were 12 or 14 years old.